travel isn't just about destinations, it's about the people you meet, the cultures you immerse yourself in, the stories you carry home. I'm Relebogile Mabocha, and on my travel feature, I take you on a journey beyond the guidebook. Each week, I connect with fellow travelers, insiders, and storytellers to bring you the heart of every place. Whether it's a hidden gem right here in South Africa or a dream destination abroad. Join me as we travel through conversations, memories, and inspiration. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
You're with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
6 minutes after 9 o'clock. Dumelang, happy Monday. Welcome to the Clement Manyathela Show. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Thank you for being with us here on 702. I wish you all the best with your plans. Vandag. If you're joining us on YouTube, nearly said Zoom, on YouTube, hello to you. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube. You just go to the 702 YouTube page. You can watch and listen to the show at the same time. Our show starts with the 702 open line on 011-883-0702. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. Why did America bomb Iran's nuclear facilities? Was it following its own foreign policy, or did it fold under the pressure of Israel and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu? And where does this US attack on Iran leave the diplomatic negotiations? I'm interested in your thoughts. Please give me a call or send me a WhatsApp voice note. I had Sfiso Zulu reporting on Eyewitness News that the United Nations Security Council convened an emergency meeting, and I just rolled my eyes, honestly, when I heard that. I did, because what do you think the United Nations is going to do here that could potentially change Israel's or the US's actions? I mean, even if they condemn the US or Israel, that's not going to mean anything. I've said this many times, that the United Nations has become so useless, and I say that respectfully. Isn't it useless in as far as its intention and role to protect human rights abuses is concerned? Its role to protect the weakest from the powerful in the world? I'm beginning to lose hope in this institution, and we all need it to work. I mean, the US was busy proposing to take over Gaza and own it. What did the United Nations do? It just can't be a multilateral institution that just exists to condemn. How many resolutions has Israel ignored from the United Nations? How many resolutions has Russia ignored? I can go on and on. Who else do countries run to as smaller nations, as weaker nations, if the United Nations is not going to be a place where they know for sure they have protection? And we always have to go back to why the United Nations exists. After World War II, which was the largest and deadliest conflict in human history, the United Nations was created as a peacekeeping force, because there was a realization that we need to find other ways to resolve conflict. But how effective has it really been when dealing with these powerful countries? I think it has partly failed. Not entirely, but partly failed. And even in this instance, I don't think whatever is going to come out of the Emergency Security Council meeting will have any bearing on what's happening in the Middle East. Let me know your thoughts on what we've seen so far, the US's actions on Iran.
Clement Manyathela. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7
and 106 FM.
Morning, Mr. Clement. It's Charles Vanyege in Riverside. You know, we are on our own for money, man. Basically means for anyone can attack any nation, and if you don't have an arsenal to respond, then you're in trouble. The UN can condemn all they want. Israel, the US, Russia, they attack at will. The inauguration of Trump has been a big problem for the world, man. We can't wait for this man to leave so everything can return to normal. Because Bibi, what they were with Trump, is got him.
Okay, so let's give some context for some listeners maybe that may have missed some bits of how we got here, right? And let me share my view as well, and then also take your thoughts on this latest development. So this was Operation Midnight Hammer. That's what the US code named it. And the question I've been asking myself is whether this operation has been a success or a spectacular failure, right? Operation Midnight Hammer was the code name for this US attack on Iran. It involved about 125 aircrafts. I mean, it was conducted with such precision from what the US has told us. So was it a success or was it a failure? What do you think? And success in terms of the actual damage the US strikes have caused on Iran's nuclear facilities, and success in terms of opening up the diplomatic channels. Iran says its nuclear infrastructure, especially Fordow, which basically is Iran's most important nuclear enrichment facility. It's buried deep inside a mountain to guard it from any sort of attack. It wasn't obliterated by attacks, as claimed by Donald Trump. Some of the officials in Iran have downplayed the impact of this U.S. attack. In fact, the Pentagon held a briefing yesterday and said, we're still waiting for a damage assessment. So in as far as physical infrastructure is concerned, the U.S. can't even claim complete obliteration of the nuclear facilities because they're still waiting for an assessment damage. But Iran says, well, we're not really affected as they claim. In as far as diplomacy is concerned, Iran believes the U.S. actions have betrayed diplomacy. The U.S., by the way, now says diplomacy must now take over. It has no plans to launch more strikes. But the question is, what does Iran do now? What do you think should be the approach of Iran? Should it retaliate? And if it retaliates, does it retaliate against the U.S. or against Israel? What does retaliation even look like for Iran? Because they control some militia in the Middle East that are near U.S. bases. Is that the way to go? Because America said, if you dare retaliate, you will regret it. And why did America get involved at this stage? What threat was America facing? And that's why I asked, was this action backed by American foreign policy or by pressure from Benjamin Netanyahu? Because you don't just intervene militarily in a sovereign state unless that decision is grounded on facts. For instance, does the U.S. have information that the supreme leader in Iran ordered weaponization? America says the question is irrelevant. Really? Is it irrelevant? If the U.S. intelligence has not indicated that Iran has made a decision to build a nuclear weapon, was this attack then grounded on facts? Or there was an absence of intelligence here? Let's give you some background. Here's Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, thanking Donald Trump for attacking Iran.
Congratulations, President Trump. Your bold decision to target Iran's nuclear facilities with the awesome and righteous might of the United States will change history. In Operation Rising Lion, Israel has done truly amazing things. But in tonight's action against Iran's nuclear facilities, America has been truly unsurpassed. It has done what no other country on earth could do. History will record that President Trump acted to deny the world's most dangerous regime the world's most dangerous weapons. His leadership today has created a pivot of history that can help lead the Middle East and beyond to a future of prosperity and peace.
That's Benjamin Netanyahu praising President Donald Trump after that U.S. attack on Iran. Now, please bear with me because I want to give you some context so that I frame why I believe what I believe this morning, and you can share your thoughts as well. Benjamin Netanyahu has been claiming for years now that Iran is close to producing nuclear weapons for many years. In fact, let me take you as far back as 1996. This is what he said in 1996.
The deadline for attaining this goal is getting extremely close. And Iran, by the way, is also...
That's what he said, right? The deadline is extremely close. That's 1996. Listen to him in 2002.
And Iran, by the way, is also outpacing Iraq in the development of ballistic missile systems that they hope will reach the eastern seaboard of the United States within 15 years.
Within 15 years. Here he is in 2012 making the same assessment.
By next spring, at most, by next summer, at current enrichment rates, they will have finished the medium enrichment and move on to the final stage. From there, it's only a few months, possibly a few weeks, before they get enough enriched uranium for the first bomb.
That was in 2012. What did he say in 2015?
The foremost sponsor of global terrorism could be weeks away from having enough enriched uranium for an entire arsenal of nuclear weapons. That would place...
That's in 2012. Now let's listen to the latest clip where he makes the same assessment he's been making since 1996. This was on the 12th of June this year.
If not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months, less than a year.
So, since 1996, he's been saying the same thing. Okay, maybe you're wondering, maybe he's right this time around. Well, let's hear from the US's intelligence director, Tulsi Gabbard. This is what she said earlier this year.
The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003.
That's it, and that's key. The US clearly has no evidence that Iran is building a weapon. That's the US's intelligence director. I mean, she's since come out to say, yeah, the media misquoted me, but where in that clip is she being misquoted? She's saying that in her own words, but she's coming out to say this now on X because Donald Trump clearly had different views to hers. Now, the U.S. Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, was asked this question during a TV show yesterday, whether America had intelligence that the supreme leader of Iran ordered weaponization. This is how he responded.
Are you saying there that the United States did not see intelligence that the supreme leader had ordered weaponization?
That's irrelevant. I see that question being asked on the media. That's an irrelevant question.
No,
they have
that is
everything
the
they need
key
to build
point
a weapon.
in U.S. intelligence assessment. You know
no,
that.
No, it's not.
Yes, it was.
No, it's
that
not.
The political decision had not
I know
been
that better
made.
than you know that, and I know that that's not the case.
But I'm asking you whether the order was given.
And the people who say that, it doesn't matter if the order was given. They have everything they need to build nuclear weapons.
How? What do you mean it doesn't matter that the order was given? He says it's irrelevant, which then makes you wonder, on what intelligence did the U.S. base this attack on? So what did America rely on to make this decision to attack Iran? And I'm asking this, and we have to be careful because it's the same America that claimed that there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. And then 20 years later, what happened? Did they find those weapons of mass destruction? Or was that used to justify the invasion? Now, listen to the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency. His name is Rafael Grossi. His team is basically the one that goes to countries and monitors nuclear sites. They've even gone to monitor the nuclear sites in Iran. Remember, having nuclear facilities is not prohibited. So you can have the capability and the capacity. The problem is when you weaponize it. And as you've heard from Marco Rubio, as you've heard from the US's intelligence director, they haven't had any evidence of that. Here is the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency speaking on CNN yesterday. I watched his interview, and he said they didn't have information that Iran planned to weaponize nuclear facilities.
Was Iran beginning to weaponize its program?
We didn't have any indication to that effect.
We didn't have any indication to that effect. So what did America rely on? Even the IAEA said there's no conclusive, credible evidence of a nuclear weapon. And look, I think there are legitimate concerns about Iran's nuclear activity. It's recently expanded rapidly, I think, to about 60% enrichment. And the question, of course, is why did they rapidly escalate? Because 60% is far beyond what you need for peaceful nuclear energy. And there was an international concern around this. And as I said, enriching uranium is not forbidden, but when you are the only country in the world that's enriching to 60% and continues to do so, that is a concern and it must be dealt with. But a decision can be made that, oh, that country has decided to weaponize when there's no credible evidence to it, because then America can just go around bombing any other country that has nuclear facilities and say, oh, they've just decided to do it. What is that based on? The Trump administration, I believe, have walked away. I think it was in 2018. They walked away from a deal that Barack Obama has negotiated, a nuclear deal with Iran. And some people now are saying Iran is never going to give up its nuclear weapons precisely for the reason of what happened this past weekend. Because what happened to Ukraine when they gave up their nukes? Got invaded by Russia. Saddam Hussein gives up nukes, gets invaded and executed. Gaddafi gives up chemical weapons, and what happened? Gets invaded. So do you think Iran is going to give up its nuclear programs given these attacks? Are we suddenly going to see regime change in Iran because the US and Israel says the current one is an oppressive and dangerous regime? And that's a separate conversation we can have. But I don't see Iran suddenly changing their viewpoint and leading to unconditional surrender of their nuclear facilities, especially because of how the US has dealt with this issue. And to think that Iran would be stupid to leave their assets vulnerable, I mean, I doubt this is going to bring Iran to the negotiating table, but we need them to start talking. But Trump walked away from the table. And now he's gone and attacked Iran, and Iran wants to retaliate, and Trump says, if you dare retaliate, you're going to see hell, essentially. So what do you think with that context? Who's right here? Who's wrong? And what should be the approach of Iran? Because you don't want an escalation of conflict where you lead to instability in that region. Already the war on Gaza is devastating enough. Let me know your thoughts. 011-883-070.
Travel isn't just about destinations. It's about the people you meet, the cultures you immerse yourself in, the stories you carry home. I'm Relebogile Mabotja, and on my travel feature, I take you on a journey beyond the guidebook. Each week, I connect with fellow travelers, insiders, and storytellers to bring you the heart of every place. Whether it's a hidden gem right here in South Africa or a dream destination abroad. Join me as we travel through conversations, memories, and inspiration. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
To your WhatsApps on 0727021702.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
On 702.
27 minutes after 9 o'clock. Willie, you're calling us from Pretoria. Good morning. Tobel.
Good morning.
Sure.
Clement, I've said it before. The Hollywood nation that been played by Netanyahu for decades. He's always peddling lies about the countries around in the Middle East, Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, all of them. Then he pulls out the Americans by the story. They commit their soldiers, they put the boots on the ground. Israel is sitting and watching and welcoming the $30 billion a year from the Americans. The problem here lies in the U.S. with APEC. Until that organization is dismantled, we will be forever in this nonsense of trying to say the Jews this and that. But the fact of the matter is the Zionists all over the world are taking over and influencing the politicians in many countries to side with America. And that's where the world is at the right moment. But now, unfortunately, we have countries that really play the game. It remains to be seen. Thanks.
All right. Willie, thank you so much for your thoughts in Pretoria. Let's hear what the other listeners think. Lungelo, you're in Johannesburg. What are your thoughts?
Morning, Clement, and good morning to the 702 listeners as well.
Sure.
I think I think one of the things that we need to have a look at is just take a step back to the October 7th attack.
Yeah.
You have Israel, where we are led to believe that there were these massive security and intelligence failures and oversight, with Hamas attacking Israel and all of the sorts. But if you look at it in context, it looks like Israel was trying to draw out all of the organizations or entities deemed to be proxies for Iran. So you look at Hezbollah, you look at Hamas, and how they had to neutralize them before they could launch some sort of a campaign or, some sort of campaign to launch a war with Iran. It would have been impossible for them to do that with a strong Hezbollah within Lebanon, with a strong Hamas within the Gaza Strip and the West Bank and the likes. So they had to sort of do something to neutralize all of those proxies or deemed proxies before they could do anything with Iran. But yeah, it's fascinating to see Donald Trump, in essence as well, going against all of the intelligence that is at their disposal, going against Tulsi Gabbard, going against the CIA, going against even his very own intelligence oversight committee within Congress. But yeah, it's from our perspective, from where we are, for some of us, it looks certainly like something that has been planned in conjunction with the October 7th attacks.
Are you suggesting, Lungelo, that, and I know this is a perspective that's been put out there before, that there is no way that the Israel intelligence wasn't aware of what Hamas was planning to do on October 7? Because some people have made that suggestion that, well, how do you explain that? I mean, Mossad Israel has one of the most impeccable intelligence agencies in the world. How did they miss this one? Are you suggesting that perhaps they sort of allowed this to happen just so that they can go after these proxies and ultimately Iran?
Absolutely. I mean, how do you have Mossad, one of the most sophisticated intelligence agencies in the world, with some of their operations largely unknown? You only come to know about it after the fact. But it does look like something that was in the works to draw out Iran ultimately. Because how do you then launch a campaign of war against Iran with all of these proxies that are still in relative strength? But it does seem like this is something that is in relation to, or is associated at the very least, with the October 7th attacks as well.
Yeah, look, I mean, I always wonder if it's true that countries would do that, given that it's the civilians that suffer at the end of the day. It's like arguing that, and this is another view that's been put, that America may have known about September 11, but how does a country know about something so tragic that's about to happen and they don't do anything to protect their civilians because of a bigger political gain of sorts? Do you believe, as Lungelo suggests, that may have been the plan? We'll take more of your calls after the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. It's 9:32.
Travel isn't just about destinations. It's about the people you meet, the cultures you immerse yourself in, the stories you carry home. I'm Relebogile Mabotja, and on my travel feature, I take you on a journey beyond the guidebook. Each week, I connect with fellow travelers, insiders, and storytellers to bring you the heart of every place. Whether it's a hidden gem right here in South Africa or a dream destination abroad. Join me as we travel through conversations, memories, and inspiration. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
22 minutes before 10 o'clock. 22 minutes before 10 o'clock. Let's continue with the 702 open line on 011-883-0702. Dawu, you're calling from Joburg. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. I'll try and be very short. I think that we might be making a mistake by looking at a very small portion of this war. As you have explained about what Bibi has been saying all over this period, what we are dealing with here, we are dealing with a global war that is being waged by people who control the U.S., Britain, Israel, and quite a large part of Europe. This global war has been going on for quite a long time. Now, the attack on Iran is just a demonstration, as we have seen in Palestine, that the proxy war that is being fought, that is being waged by the USA, whenever the dog that is on the leash by the USA, whether it be in Ukraine or in Israel, whenever it gets bitten, the master comes out and try and defend the dog. That is what makes Iran to have a right to defend itself. When when Russia was attacked and its nuclear bombers were damaged, it was very clear that that was being done, and it was not surprising that immediately when that third leg of the nuclear deterrent of Russia was broken, that Iran got attacked. The solution is simply this: the people of the world must rise and say, away with nuclear weapons. And if some countries have got nuclear weapons, if they don't get rid of the nuclear weapons, then every country must have the right to manufacture its own nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
But that is not the ideal, because nuclear weapons are something that we should not be having on planet Earth. They are a danger that might result with our planet being completely destroyed.
That's true. But here's a challenge now, Tau. And I think you're asking a legitimate question about who's allowed to have nuclear and who's not. I think Israel had taken a policy around, being ambiguous around it. I've seen many interviews where Benjamin Netanyahu was asked, do you have nukes? Have they even allowed the IAEA to come and inspect their nukes? That's never been the case. But Iran has opened its doors. So the question then becomes, is the issue here not who is this nuclear weapon in the hands of? For instance, you've got Iran, some of their officials that have come out and said, death to America, death to Israel. And that's now being used as justification why Iran must not have even these nuclear facilities. Because based on what they've said and what they believe about the existence of Israel and about what they believe about America, that poses a threat to these countries. What's your thought on that?
You see, the problem is simply this. Everybody who's in the United Nations knew very well that Israel has got nuclear weapons, in the same way as they knew that South Africa had the nuclear weapons. But what everybody does not want to talk about is that on planet Earth, there are two countries that do not obey international laws and rules.
Mm-hmm.
That is the USA and Israel. And all those countries that are linked with in this global war. Now, the USA in particular and Israel, they are not living by the international laws. They regard themselves as the law.
Okay, Tau in Joburg, thank you so much for your thoughts. Let's go to some WhatsApp voice notes, and then we'll come back for some more calls.
Good morning. This is KB. I'm not surprised that Trump did this attack. Him and basically the entirety of the Senate and Congress in America is bought by AIPAC. AIPAC was actually the biggest donor of most of the politicians from the last election cycle. If I'm not mistaken, please fact check me, Trump got $30 million from AIPAC. So of course he was going to do Netanyahu's bidding. I mean, Netanyahu has been angry for this war. There's literally videos dating back as far as 1996 of him saying that Iran must be attacked because they're building like nuclear weapons, even though Israel has nuclear weapons. Yeah. No.
Good morning, Clement Manyathela and 702 listeners. Regarding what has happened to Iran, I think this just gives an incentive for any country that has got the potential to develop nuclear weapons to do so that they can guarantee their safety and security for their own citizens. Other than that, the law, United Nations, international law, non-proliferation treaty, they are useless because USA can do as it wish and Israel does as it wishes. I mean, every day there's more than 200 people, or in 2 days, that have been killed in Gaza, and nobody says anything about that. So I think states like Iran, They must just continue to develop so that they can guarantee their own safety. Thank you.
And that's the thing. Does this not incentivize countries to... I mean, look at North Korea. Kim Jong-un. Look at North Korea. They're sitting comfortably. And there's some suggestions are that that's because they've got some serious weapons. Right? So that is an incentive for countries. That's why I said it's very naive for Israel and America to think, oh, there's going to be some unconditional surrender by Iran. You've walked away from a nuclear deal that was signed by Barack Obama back in 2018. Trump walks away from that. For what? And now, here we are. And he says, oh, now the diplomatic channels are open. You bomb your way through diplomacy? Yo.
Good morning, Clement. In response to your question, if I were Iran, what would I do? Well, for me, it's simple. If I was Iran, I wouldn't attack any American personnel, assets, or bases. My retaliation would always be focused on Israel. For the simple reason that within America, even within Trump's own party, people are opposed to going to war for Israel. So if Iran is only hitting Israel and America keeps bombing Iran, it creates a split within the American society, especially within the Republican Party. And that's where I think Iran needs to win the war, is in dividing the Republicans, in getting Americans to oppose going to war for Israel. Because by just hitting Israel, you frame it as America is fighting for Israel. And Americans will be saying, why don't we let Israel fight its own war? Why are we getting involved? That's the strategy I would follow. Tsepo, Soweto.
Thank you, Tsepo. AB, you're calling us from Durban, KwaZulu-Natal. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Clement.
Sure.
Context is very important. Now, Israel has always wanted to neutralize any kind of threat to its colonial project, that is the repression of the Palestinians. Iraq could have been very strong if left alone because it has the second largest oil reserve. Saddam seemed to be unreliable and was steadily moving towards forming a relationship with Russia. So Iraq had to be neutralized, smashed. And the pro-Israel neocons like Dick Cheney, Dick Cheney and the rest of them. So they concocted the big lie of weapons of mass destruction. It was a war for Israel. When Iran said that it wanted to develop nuclear power for peaceful purposes, that is to run electricity power stations and so on, way back in 1900s, Israel said, it wants to develop a nuclear weapon. Iran said repeatedly, no, we don't want a weapon. And Netanyahu since then, as you said, has been steadily bleating on, yes, they do. Then Obama came in and signed the deal in 2015 to say, okay, we'll send inspectors in to ensure Iran doesn't develop nuclear program to produce a nuclear weapon. Trump, heavily funded by Israeli supporters, came in and in 2018, as you know, tore up the deal. But when he came in the second term, he started the Obama deal again. It was going on fine, but Israel decided to scuttle it, and so we had the attack on Iran. Donald Trump had a big headache what to do. He was being pulled into the war on the side of Israel. If he entered, then he will have a big problem with his own MAGA, Make America Great Again constituency. Many of them were against the war. So the best thing is to knock out the nuclear sites, and so the talk of nuclear weapons is off the table. No wide-scale war with huge civilian deaths, huge damage to infrastructure, etc., like in Iraq, and possible attacks on U.S. interests in the region. Remove the reason, the nuclear issue, and both sides have no reason to continue the war. Netanyahu didn't get what he wanted, America coming in and smashing Iran completely. But he put on a brave face and praised Trump. Iran cannot respond to America with any sort of attack and has already declared that it wants to see the UN Security Council to handle the whole issue. So in effect, the crisis is diffused, but Israel, no doubt, will not leave it and will dig up something from its bag of tricks, possibly a false flag operation or something else.
AB in Durban, in KwaZulu-Natal, thank you for making time. When we speak to that journalist in Israel, I'll also try to find out what the approach of the Israeli, the Benjamin Netanyahu's administration is. Do they still think they've got more goals to achieve in Iran, or does this attack, the latest attack by the US on Iran, somehow now settle it and they're going to walk away? That's what's coming up just after the news at 10 o'clock. It's 11 minutes now before 10.
Travel isn't just about destinations. It's about the people you meet, the cultures you immerse yourself in, the stories you carry home. I'm Relebogile Mabotja, and on my travel feature, I take you on a journey beyond the guidebook. Each week, I connect with fellow travelers, insiders, and storytellers to bring you the heart of every place, whether it's a hidden gem right here in South Africa or a dream destination abroad. Join me as we travel through conversations, memories, and inspiration. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
9 minutes before 10 o'clock. Saul, you're calling us from Highlands North. What are your thoughts? Good morning.
Well, my thoughts is, contrary to what people have been saying, is that I think Israel has the right to defend itself, looking at the record of what Iran's really all about. Iran, purportedly is this country that is, all it's done is wanting peace in the Middle East, whilst on the one hand, and on the other hand, they finance Hezbollah with weapons and finance to ensure that missiles, straight after the October the 7th, Hezbollah started firing missiles and rockets into Israel for over a year. Same with Hamas. They financed Hamas. They even gave logistics support Hamas. October the 7th, Hamas attacks Israel for whatever reason. They wanted to attack and kill 1,200 people and take hostages. If we go back in history, and this has been indicted by an Argentinian court, they had their hands in the bombing of a Jewish center where 200 people got killed in 1994, and quite honestly, as the foreign minister of Israel said recently on CNN, when a country says death to us and let's wipe Israel off the face of the earth, we do take it a bit seriously, just like they took it seriously in 1967 when Arab armies massed on their border and they said, what are they there for? They're not there to play a game of cricket. So that's why there was a preemptive attack, to ensure that they weren't attacked and wiped off the face of the earth. That's as simple. It's not about who's got nuclear weapons, and that's what everybody, it's about the people behind the nuclear weapons. That's why before the Cold War, during the Cold War, at least we had leaders that understood MAD, mass mutually assured destruction. They knew what, but we don't have those kind of leaders today. We don't have those kind of people running countries and organizations.
So, in Highlands North, thank you for your thoughts. Peter, what do you think? You're in Sandton. Hi.
Yes, Clement, just clarify this for me quickly. A while ago, I like your analysis when we start the show and then, painting scenarios. You said that you don't think that Trump is now getting along well with Netanyahu, and you quoted at the time when Trump visited the Middle East.
The Middle East, yeah.
Not Israel. We didn't go to Israel. And you said now that probably that's because Trump is not happy with what is happening in Gaza with Netanyahu. So what is your take now? What is it now that they're bombing Iran together? So what's your take? Are they back now as friends?
I don't think they are, Peter. I think that, in fact, I'm going to post. Are you on Twitter, Peter?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm going to post an interview that I think there was a former US president who recently did an interview about how there were times when, as leaders, as well as a president, they were frustrated by Benjamin Netanyahu, but you're almost like there's not so much you can do about it. So I still believe that at the time, Donald Trump was not getting well with Benjamin Netanyahu, and going to the Middle East and not even stopping by Israel was a sign for me. Even when I asked Donald Trump in the White House a couple of weeks ago whether he wants South Africa to drop its ICJ case, even though America has mentioned it as an issue, he said, well, I don't really expect anything from South Africa. And I think that was an indication. I think in this case now, he is under pressure to do something. I don't think this is based on America's foreign policy. I think this is based on more powers that we may not know about. But I think Donald Trump has been frustrated by Benjamin Netanyahu the same way that Joe Biden was frustrated by Benjamin Netanyahu because he didn't want to even have a conversation about a two-state solution, even though that's a position the U.S. and many other countries have taken. But at some point, when there's pressure that is being put on you to act, you are going to act. I mean, you look at how Marco Rubio, the vice president of the U.S., they've been doing interviews this weekend. They're finding it hard to really explain what this decision is grounded on. Where is the intelligence when your own intelligence director says this? When the head of the IAEA says, well, there's never been any evidence that these people are about to build a weapon, a nuclear weapon, then what are you basing your decision to go on attack on? And the fact that they can't answer that, to me, says there are other reasons that we may not know of, but I don't think that suddenly means that they have a good relationship. I think Trump is still frustrated by him.
Yes, yeah. Marco Rubio, by the way, Secretary of State, not a Vice President.
Yes, so I was saying the Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, and then the Vice President as well. Because I saw two different interviews they did yesterday, and they were struggling to really explain. I mean, the Vice President even said they don't know when Trump actually took the decision to go on attack.
Yeah, this guy's crazy. Trump is I don't know. This guy is mad. But thank you very much.
All right, Peter, thank you. I'm going to post that interview. I'm not forgetting this former U.S. president. I don't know why, but I'll post an interview that he did. And that gives you a sense of sometimes they are frustrated by Benjamin Netanyahu. But for some reason, there's pressure that is coming from somewhere, I don't know where they are forced to do something. And now they end up doing something. I mean, Benjamin Netanyahu was visibly frustrated by Benjamin Netanyahu. Two-state solution. Let's do the deal. Benjamin Netanyahu wasn't really interested in that. But that didn't stop Joe Biden from releasing billions of dollars in military packages to Israel. What does that tell you? Yes, I'm frustrated by this leader, but help continues to flow from the U.S. to Israel. I don't know. How do you see it? 7 minutes after 10 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the second hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Thank you for staying with us here on 702, and thank you for your thoughts on the 702 open line this morning. I really always appreciate your contribution on the open line. So I spoke about a clip of Bill Clinton. There's, of course, a fuller interview that he did. That's the one that I'm going to try and find the link and post it for you. But here's what I was talking about. Bill Clinton, the former U.S. president himself, was talking about the concerns that he has around Benjamin Netanyahu and what he's been doing over the years.
Mr. Netanyahu has long wanted to fight Iran because that way he can stay in office forever and ever. I mean, he's been there most of the last 20 years. But I think we should be trying to diffuse it. And I hope President Trump will do that. I hope anybody there will do that. We've got to stop. We've got to convince our friends in the Middle East that we'll stand with them and try to protect them. But choosing undeclared wars in which the primary victims are civilians who are not politically involved one way or the other, just want to live decent lives, is not a very good solution. Do I think that we have to try to stop Iran from having a nuclear weapon? I do. I tried at that, and we had some success. But we don't have to have all this outright, constant killing of civilians who can't defend themselves and they just want a chance to live.
That's Bill Clinton during an interview. I'll find the full version of it and post it on Twitter. Here's how Iran's foreign affairs minister responded to the attacks by the U.S. and sort of giving us an indication on what could be their next move.
Of course, the door for diplomacy should be always keep open, but this is not the case right now. My country has been under attack, under aggression, and we have to respond based on our legitimate right of self-defense. And we will do that as long as needed and necessary. There is no red line that they have not crossed. And the last one, and the most dangerous one, was happened only last night, when they crossed a very big red line by attacking nuclear facilities. I don't know how much room is left for diplomacy. We are now calculating the damages. And as I said, the damages are not only for our nuclear facilities, the damages are for the United Nations Charter.
Yeah, that's what he said. All right, it's 10 minutes now after 10 o'clock. After the break, we're going to be live in Israel. In fact, I'll start with a professor of international affairs at Hamad bin Khalifa University, just to get a sense from the Middle East, that region, what the potential threats are and what he believes could be the next move of Israel, of Iran, that is.
Travel isn't just about destinations. It's about the people you meet, the cultures you immerse yourself in, the stories you carry home. I'm Relebogile Mabotja, and on my travel feature, I take you on a journey beyond the guidebook. Each week, I connect with fellow travelers, insiders, and storytellers to bring you the heart of every place. Whether it's a hidden gem right here in South Africa or a dream destination abroad. Join me as we travel through conversations, memories, and inspiration. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.